you need to challenge people to be engaging. Um, the last thing a learner wants to do, and no offense to programs that still do this, but it's not engaging to just click next, next, next. I mean, people are doing other things while they're, learning, and those kind of requirements, as good intentions as those have, I think the real intention is let's make the user actually want to learn.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Tracy Weiss, and I'm the founder of Sea Change, a learning collective. And I'm here with my friend, Blake Pleasant. Blake, for those of people out there who don't know you, could you just do a quick introduction?
Hi, everyone. I'm Blake Pleasant. I am now an art director at 360i. It's a global creative ad agency. I work on clients like Kroger, Burger King, Truly. I've also worked in other agencies for like Apple, Anheuser-Busch, Kellogg's, and just love to bring kind of my creativity approach to things like learning and development.
It's been a pleasure working with you, Blake, because number one, you're incredibly creative and you're incredibly skilled at creating a space where ideas just flow and people feel included, people from all different backgrounds, ages. Everyone feels equally able to participate and their creativity shines. And I know that's something that you're really passionate about, is that, I've heard it from subject matter experts quite a bit, actually, that, you're the creative one, or I can't be creative. And I know that you have a deep passion that everyone has the ability to be creative. Could you just share a little bit more about your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think there's this misconception that people like creatives are just artists or musicians. It's really not. I really believe that everyone is creative. Creativity is a muscle, just like any muscle on your body, that you have to work. There's a thing called neuroplasticity, which is just kind of connecting things in your brain. It's not something you necessarily can control, but you can train it. You can train that neuroplasticity so that you're connecting dots in your brain that normally aren't connected. And so when you think about kind of like where these creative ideas come from, there's no creativity without diversity. You need to avoid groupthink and that type of thing, and your teams bring people from all types of backgrounds. And these aren't just necessarily the creatives, right? This could be people from different departments, maybe even different companies. Bringing in subject matter experts is huge as well. But also, I think focusing on the end user or the learner in this scenario is huge. If you can serve everything back to that user, your ideas are really going to be meaningful. That's where my creativity kind of comes from, is to be positive. We have the power to change things in the world.
I founded this company because I feel like learning and development can be a catalyst to something so much bigger. And I think you're exactly right. It's really getting in the shoes of the learner and being creative and finding a way that's going to meet them where they are and energize them, engage them, something that they can relate to so that they will be able to learn. I think back to that project we did where it was a digital cultural onboarding program. And I believe that was your first experience within learning and development. And I remember I was in a jam with this project because cultural onboarding at the time had only been done in person. And then it started as an in-person training. And then they rolled out very traditional e-learnings that were like 30 minutes. I think it was a series of 5 or 6 30-minute e-learnings. And it was a historical timeline. And this particular organization had this rich culture and rich stories that they wanted to tell. And it's an amazing organization. And I remember calling you and asking you, just talking to you. And the idea came up about creating some sort of digital board game where we're walking the learner through the history of the organization and the stories that were told and passed down, and almost had like this fireside chat. And without having you push me outside of my comfort zone and push our entire team outside the comfort zone, we would have been locked in on what does traditional e-learning software allow us to do. And we would have never had that experience of thinking what would be fun for this user.
Yeah, I think what was special about that idea is the ability, board games, right? You don't think of that as something to do. It sounds childish. But at the end of the day, the board games are about stories. It's about a challenge, and you need to challenge people to be engaging. The last thing a learner wants to do, and no offense to programs that still do this, but it's not engaging to just click next, next, next. I mean, people are doing other things while they're, learning, and those kind of requirements, as good intentions as those have, I think the real intention is, let's make the user actually want to learn. Let's make them actually want to come back to this. So let's bring some storytelling into it. And at our heart, we're all into that whole storyline, and that's why kids love board games as well. And
it's fun. And you think about the say fireside chat again, but that feeling that you have when you're sitting with your family or you're sitting with friends and you're at the table and you're playing a game. That was I think part of our idea is, how do we recreate that feeling for people? So when they're joining a company and they don't get to go and be in person, how do they still have that feeling of what this organization believes in and those cultural values? I think we did a fantastic job on that. The other project, just thinking about bringing your perspective and the outside into L&D, was when we were working on a global first-time people leadership program, again, moving it from in-person to virtual. And you opened my mind at that time. It was right when Masterclass, I think, was starting. I think they were a pretty young organization at the time. And you started to talk about documentary style videos. And you did some deep research on different learning platforms that were out there. Could you kind of walk me through your thought process on that, and maybe focus on how that inspiration came to you?
As a creative, we are always curious people naturally. And to me, I'm always looking at those types of programs like Masterclass, even YouTube, Skillshare, types of streaming platforms that have this bite-sized kind of video content learning. And what I really liked about Masterclass was their whole model for it, which was, let's take the top people in the world, even celebrities. Let's take those types of people and put them in front of the camera in a documentary style approach, just like you were sitting in front of them at a table. And let's edit this in a high production value way. Let's cut out the unnecessary stuff, and let's get to the real tenets of what we're talking about with subject matter experts, right? And so I had this, idea from that. Let's remix that. And a lot of ideas are remixed of stuff that are either lived experiences or history or anything, really. So I said, let's take that to this. Why don't we take kind of a YouTube/Masterclass style approach and get our top leaders, people that are managers at the company that have had high ratings, have had high retentions, and let's put them in front of the camera and let's have them share their story. What would they say to people if they only had 5 minutes to talk to them? What would they say even to themselves as someone, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when they started as a manager? What would they tell themselves? So it comes from like a more authentic approach to learning, I think. But I noticed that L&D was a little bit behind on innovating like that. And it's almost like a content creator's approach, right? And I don't think we even shot a video before that.
No.
So
what was, that could be a whole separate conversation. That was so
it was scary.
Yeah, and amazing. And just, I think a lot of people don't do that within L&D because they think the price tag is going to be so huge. But we were able to fly to different places, interview senior leaders, interview managers, create these amazing scenario-based experiences using actors and a film production crew. And it was same price point as what we would have done if we didn't increase the budget at all.
I don't want to share the exact specifics of the budget. However, it was very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, but maybe even cheaper than other routes that are traditionally taken with consultancies and animations, that type of thing. Let's just get people on the camera. Let's get a what they call run and gun
right.
type of shoot, which is a small video crew. Let's bring them in and let's see what happens. There was a lot of planning involved in that. And so you really have to believe in yourself, but also not be afraid of failure. The test and learn kind of approach and design thinking models also come from that. Prototyping, right? It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect. So start.